back to my channel. Today is Foundation Friday, and last Friday I did not upload my review of this foundation because I was not quite ready. I didn't feel like I was there. You guys, when I review, I am so thorough, almost by default, almost sometimes a little bit too much, but I like to be thorough. And so I've been wearing this foundation off and on for about 2 weeks now, so I definitely know how I feel about it. So we're gonna jump straight into what we're talking about. This is the new foundation from Givenchy. I probably said that wrong, but you guys know what it is, right? I don't know how to say all these fancy words. But this is the Teint Couture Everwear 24-hour wear satin finish foundation, and this just recently launched on the Sephora website. Unbeknownst to me, this was the foundation that had a lot of controversy when it first uploaded on Trend Mood. I'm going to post that picture right here. I didn't know that this was the same foundation because in that picture the cap looks blue, but it's not. It's a silver cap, but it must have been reflecting off something blue in that picture. So when I seen this foundation pop up on Just Arrived on the Sephora website, I did not realize that it was actually that foundation from Trend Mood. And that Trend Mood post was clear back in like February or March, early March. So I'd kind of forgotten about it, to be quite honest. This foundation does not have a lot of shades in it. These higher end like bougie brands just don't cater to all skin tones, bottom line. And it seems like the fair skin tones really miss out, and definitely the deeper complexions miss out. There's just a lot of gaps in between the shade range. There are 20 shades with this foundation, and I felt like within those 20 shades, they could have accommodated everyone equally. You know what I mean? But they didn't. They didn't. Bottom line. This retails for $52, and it is a 1 fluid ounce, 30 mils. Now, everybody seems to be really liking this. I've read the reviews on the Sephora website, and it looks like out of 8 reviews, it has a 4.9 out of 5 star. I would not call this a perfect foundation. There are some things that I don't really love about this foundation, and I'm definitely going to get into all of that in this video. So the details on this foundation, it's a foundation with up to 24-hour wear and a medium to full coverage that blurs imperfections, hydrates, and evens out the complexion for a flawless natural finish. It is for normal, dry, combo, and oily skin. It has SPF of 20. This foundation blurs imperfection, hydrates, and revives the skin's natural glow. It's non-oily, buildable texture blends with the skin, leaving a bare skin sensation. Built to resist intense days, physical activities, and varying weather conditions, it's also waterproof and lasts up to 24 hours. Now, when I read a few reviews on the Sephora website, people were saying, like one girl, I think said, bless her heart, she said that she got in a really bad fight with her boyfriend, and she was like bawling, and she just didn't want to take her makeup off, so she went to bed, and she woke up and she was like, my face looked amazing after, you know, bawling the night before, going to sleep without washing my face, and waking up. So supposedly this does have a really long wear. It's not been my experience this is a long wear foundation on its own. There has been some things that I've needed to do and add to make it last longer. So for those of you guys that are new to my channel, welcome. I am almost 40. I'm turning 40 next month. I'm so excited about it. And I am dry normal. Right now I'm definitely more on the normal side. And I prefer a more natural finish foundation, sometimes a little bit on the dewier side. I do not like a super matte foundation. I just kind of push them to the side. They really exaggerate my texture, my wrinkles, my pores. Like, I gotta move all of those. Super matte foundations are just not my friends. Also, for your convenience, I will leave a full list in the description box down below of the foundations that I love and what shade I wear in those foundations. Just in case you think that you're close to my skin tone and you want to know as a reference, I chose the shade Y310, and this is actually a really, really good shade for me. It is described as medium to tan with warm undertones. And like I said, I'm a medium with a warm golden undertone, especially when I do a lot of self-tanning. And this was a perfect match. I don't know that I could have had a better match as far as shade. And typically I don't set my foundation with a lot of powders. Now, during this review and during the times that I've been wearing this, I have set it with the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Finish Powder. This is one of my favorite powders. I absolutely love it. And then recently I reviewed the Jeffree Star setting powder, and I also compared it to the Magic powder, and I actually really liked both of these powders over top of this foundation. I have worn it without powders. I've worn it with powders. I have worn it with 3 different primers, which I'm going to get into all of that in my final thoughts. I will give you guys all of the breakdown on how I wore it, how I liked it. I have worn this a lot. I have a lot to say about it. So without further ado, let's jump right into the application portion of the video. I'm going to do a midday check-in, let you guys know how this is wearing, and then Also, every single day that I've worn this, I've worn it for 12 hours or longer. Normally, I wear my foundations for 12 hours or longer. So I've really been putting this foundation to the test, and I have a lot to say, so let's jump right into the application. All right, so let's start playing with this new foundation. So it has a nice silver pump on it, nice silver bottle. Like, the packaging is pretty fancy, and it has, you know, the logo here on top. I'm gonna go ahead and just get started. We're gonna go ahead and put a couple of pumps down into the tray. Okay, so one of the reviews on the Sephora website suggested a small amount of product, like half a pump, is all she needed. She likes applying it with a buffing brush. Sometimes I'll finish with a damp beauty blender. So she says, I would not advise using fingers with this product. I tried it and the application didn't look as nice as it does with a brush or a brush sponge combo. I have applied my Bobbi Brown Vitamin Enriched Face Base. That's the only thing I have on my skin besides my moisturizer with SPF. On one side, I'm gonna buff it in with a brush, and on the other, I'll use a sponge. Now, every time I use a brush, I always go over it with a sponge, and I'm just gonna kind of start spreading this around. Wow, a little bit does go a really long way with this. Looks like the foundation, the shade is gonna be a good shade for me. I would say I probably got light medium coverage. So I wouldn't say it's a full like medium coverage with the sponge, but my gosh, does that melt into the skin? Wow. I'm just gonna put a few dots of this because I don't want to use too much. So I've just stuck my finger down in there, and I'm just gonna use that much to kind of spread it around with the brush. Now it looks like with the brush, I'm getting better coverage. Now, yeah, I have more texture on this side, but as you can see, I'm getting way more coverage with the brush. I would say this is lightly fragranced. It does have kind of a perfumey scent. So for those of you that don't like perfume scented foundations, just FYI, this does have a perfume scent. But my gosh, wow, I don't even know that I need to smooth that out with a sponge. Okay, I'm gonna go over the sponge side with some of this and try to get me some more coverage, just because like you can clearly see the difference between the sponge side and the brush side. So I'm gonna go ahead and build up coverage and, you know, just see how it builds, because there's some foundations that look amazing, but they don't like to be built, you know? Now that built it up good. So if you want a light coverage, obviously the sponge is your friend with this. But if you need a nice medium coverage, you could probably build this to a full. Based on the way I'm seeing it blend into my skin, damn. This is a beautiful foundation, you guys. Holy hot damn. It's kind of a powdery finish, so it kind of dries down to a powder type finish. I love it with a brush, and I don't even know that I need to go over it with a sponge, which never happens. Like, this is so stinking pretty. Oh my gosh, this is pretty. All right, I'm gonna build up coverage right here. You know how you can see a little bit of my hyperpigmentation? I'm gonna dip my brush down in there and just lightly build that up. Wow. You guys, this coverage is bomb. And this foundation is beautiful. I am kind of blown away. Blends so fast. And I still have quite a bit of the product left down in here. So I don't even know if I could take it off. So that's the bummer about this packaging, is that there's no way to take the top off and, you know, dip my finger down in there and kind of put it back in there. So just know that. Start out with a half a pump of this. This is stunning. Like, I don't even know where I put foundation on. Like, it doesn't look thick anywhere. Holy smokes. It's pretty. It's pretty. Kind of dries down to a nice, soft, satin matte finish. So this is what it's looking like with the beauty lights. I just want to show you guys how this looks. Now, I could probably continue to build coverage up there, but I don't want to risk it being too thick and cakey. But so far, this looks absolutely beautiful. Like, wow. so pretty. And like even where I used the brush, you know how when you use like a cream liquid foundation, your brush will kind of be damp? This isn't damp. So it kind of dries down, like my brush is dry, which is weird. Like it's a different texture. All right, let's turn off the beauty light. Okay, so this is what it's looking in natural lighting. I have the 2 umbrella lights in the corner, and then I'm sitting in front of a window that doesn't have direct sunlight, but it does have some light coming through. So as you can see, it just looks really natural, and obviously you can see the ring around where I didn't bring it up all the way, you know, for like I got to put my concealer on and stuff. But this just looks very natural. Like I said, I probably could have built up the coverage on this to really cover this up, but I didn't want to risk it. I would say this is a light to buildable medium coverage. It's a soft matte finish, but it's still allowing some of my natural glow to come through, as you can see, which I appreciate that. So the check-in time, it is currently 9:51. That's it for this application portion of the video. I will see you guys in my next check-in. Okay everyone, I am back for a midday check-in on the foundation, and currently it is almost 4:30. Come on phone, there we go. Yeah, it's almost 4:30, so I've had it on, I think I applied this almost around 10 o'clock, so we're gonna call it 10 o'clock. So I've had it on for about 7 hours now. I like this. I think it's very, very natural. It's one of the more natural foundations, and it sets down. And I didn't even apply powder over this. I'm starting to kind of, you know, my coverage is starting to fade a little bit. And I've been playing heavily with highlighter today. I've been reviewing other products, so I got a little bit overboard with highlighter, but whatever. I am starting to lose some of my coverage right around here, but it doesn't look bad. I mean, I can see why this would be really, really long wearing, because it's very, very skin-like. And it's just very, very natural. I mean, it's a very natural foundation. It's really, really pretty. I definitely like this with a brush. I think a sponge, you're going to get a really light coverage application. But with a brush, I feel like you can get a even application. I feel like you can get the best coverage, and I like this. So far, I really, really like this. This is where I have my hyperpigmentation. I really tried to build up the coverage right here, but it does fade. The coverage fades, but it fades very naturally. It's not a patchy foundation. It just looks really, really healthy, and I gotta move all my shit because I just put my elbow in my highlighter. Damn it. But yeah, I think it looks really good. Like I said, some of my coverage has started to fade, and I think tomorrow I'll try to build up more coverage to see if I'm able to. But this side, where I really don't need as much coverage, it looks really, really good. Very, very smooth. This is not creasing at all. It looks really good over wrinkles. It really melts into the skin. All right, let's turn the ring light off. Okay, so again, 7 hours later, this is more natural lighting. I have the 2 umbrella lights in the corner, and then I'm sitting in front of a window, which isn't direct sunlight, but does have sunlight coming through. And for those of you out there that don't like transfer, let's see how it looks next, like if I put my phone up against my face. So, I mean, you get a little bit, but not much, right? Okay, so I'm gonna take a white piece of paper towel and just kind of go like this. And there's not much transfer. I mean, there's nothing. Like, this just does not transfer. Do you see that? I mean, I maybe got a little bit of this, but that could have been like my bronzer or blush. This doesn't transfer. So for those of you out there who are worried about it transferring, like you can touch your face without it feeling like you're going to, you know, it's gonna come off, or it's not tacky at all. It's not a sticky foundation. So I can appreciate that. So that's it for this check-in. I probably won't come back until Thursday night to give you guys my full final thoughts. So I will see you guys then. Okay everyone, I am back to give you guys my full final thoughts on this foundation. It is 10:27, so I've officially had it on for 12 hours. I want to get into it because I have a lot to say about this foundation. I don't feel like this foundation is for everyone, so let me kind of break it down how I've worn this for almost the last 2 weeks. Literally, it's been off and on for 2 weeks. I do think it works really good with my Bobbi Brown Vitamin Enriched Face. Gives me the hydration that I need throughout the day. Because this is a foundation that sets down, and you guys know that I'm more dry normal, Sometimes I lean a little bit on the dry side, but right now because it's spring, I'm more normal. But this is a foundation that does set down, like I've said throughout the entire video. So because of that, the Bobbi Brown Vitamin Enriched Face Base gives me the hydration underneath the foundation that I need throughout the day. Especially because this is a foundation that I prefer wearing a powder over top of, which is very weird because most of the time I don't like to wear setting powders. And with this foundation in particular, I feel like it's the best when it's set. I feel like it just adds that extra layer of coverage and it gives you just a flawless finish. I can't tell you how different this foundation is. I mean, I've set it today and you can see this is 12 hours later. And you can see that I look better now than I did in my midday check-in without setting it and no powder over top of it. I get the best results with a setting powder, some sort of setting powder. It doesn't matter which one it is. I've tried it with the Charlotte Tilbury Flawless Finish. I also, like I said earlier, I tried it with the Magic Star setting powder and the Magic Away setting powder from Charlotte Tilbury. Also, today I have been testing this guy out. This is the Marc Jacobs Accomplished powder, which will be up on my channel very soon. I do want to say that I got the best coverage when I used this sponge. Now, I reviewed this sponge. This is the Super Sponge. I reviewed this a couple of days ago. While I'm talking, I will have the footage of me applying it with this sponge. You will see just how flawless this looks. As I'm blending this in, this is my favorite sponge to apply this foundation. I can't tell you, I do not like it with a regular sponge. It soaks up all of the product, and because this is a thinner formula, the sponge just eats it up. But this thicker sponge just really melts it into the skin. As you're seeing through the footage when I'm talking, you will see it just melt in, builds up, and then when you put some sort of setting powder over it, it just is flawless all day long. This is a foundation that will last me 12, 14 hours once I put powder on. Now, the days that I don't wear powders with this doesn't last as long, and it just is what it is. But it is absolutely gorgeous with a setting powder. It just really makes it the best that it is. I also used the Ole Henriksen Banana Bright face primer underneath this. I liked this, but this didn't give me the hydration that I needed underneath this foundation. I like this primer when I'm wearing more of a dewier type foundation, and this is not dewy. This definitely sets down, and it's just a very natural foundation. I do feel like this would be good for combination oily skin. I feel like if you have the right primers underneath it, it could be good for those of you who have dry skin. But like I said, you know, if you have dry skin and you're somebody that doesn't like to set your foundation, this might not be the option for you, only because, you know, to really get that flawless long wear coverage, I feel like it just works best with a setting powder. That's just my opinion. This is the first foundation that I've tried from this brand, obviously because I don't know how to pronounce it, and I'm really impressed with it. I really am. I just don't really like the shade range. Let's talk about the primers really quick. So I do not recommend this foundation with a primer like this. This is the Cover FX Gripping Primer. This one is just too gripping for a foundation like this. I do like it with the Milk. The Milk is a little bit more on the hydrating side than the Cover FX. This one is like grip your like life away. Like it literally, it's nuts. This one gives you the gripping sensation, but it's not as like strong, and it gives you the hydration at the same time. So I've tried it with this, and these are a good pair. I do feel like I got, I feel like it lasted longer with the gripping primer, but honestly, my favorite way to wear this is, you know, some hydration underneath my skin to keep me hydrated throughout the day. Throw this on, throw a beautiful setting powder over top of it, and leave it. It's just absolutely gorgeous on the skin. I mean, you can see 12 hours later, this is my like nasty side. This is where I have all the texture, and I added that extra layer of protection, so to speak. You can see I look so much better now than I did in my 7-hour check-in the first day that I wore this, because I didn't put any powders over it. For those of you out there that don't like to transfer, you will not have a problem with this. This does not transfer. The other thing that I like about this is so expensive, and a little bit goes a really long way. So I can always appreciate when a brand is very expensive, but there's enough pigment in the foundation to make it last long. And go a really long way. And I can always appreciate that because literally it takes like a half a pump. And you guys know I am notorious for using too much foundation, and this you just don't need it. This is how I've been applying it. I apply a half of a pump, which I like this pump. The pump is controllable, so when you go to put a pump on, you can control how much you put out, which I love that. Like, you don't have to squeeze out a full pump, and I really do love that. And I would start out small, like I said, so you don't waste it, because there's no way to put it back in the bottle. But you can control the pump, and you can control the amount that you put on there. I will normally use about this much on my entire face, especially if I'm using this sponge. I just go in and I start building this, and literally a tiny bit goes a really long way. I think the only thing I would say, there's a few negatives. One, I don't really like this on its own. It just doesn't work the best on its own. And two, I don't like it with a sponge. The sponge just eats it all up, unless it's this magic sponge, which I'm obsessed with. Now, if you're not obviously using this sponge, I recommend a brush with this, you guys. I recommend a brush. The brush just really smooths it out. And the thing that I really liked about this, as you've seen in the application, normally I like to apply my foundation with a brush and then smooth it out with a sponge. And this foundation, I don't have to do that. If I use a brush, I can go in straight with a brush and it just be beautiful. It really blends and becomes your skin. The first day I wore it, I really liked it, but I didn't love it like I do now. Once I started using setting powder with this, I was like, oh my gosh, this is absolutely perfect. Just 12 hours later, and look at the coverage that I have maintained just by using a setting powder. You know, setting it just really locks it, and it doesn't budge, and it's locked. It becomes a long wear foundation at that point. Last night, my husband got home late and he was like, did you just put makeup on? Because normally at the end of the night, you know, sometimes I'm looking a little haggard, and he thought I had just got done like filming or something. And I was like, no, I got done filming like a few hours ago. He's like, it looks like you just applied your foundation. And it was because I had just got done like reviewing the whole Jeffree Star and that powder, and my face just looked absolutely beautiful with this foundation. So again, this is a bomb foundation, but you just really need to find the best ways to tweak it. So let me go ahead and turn off the ring light. Okay, so this is natural lighting. Of course it's dark, so I just have the umbrella lights in the corner, but they give off some pretty good natural light. And as you can see, again, I mean, look at the coverage that I have maintained, and look how natural this looks. Like, it doesn't look like I have foundation on. I love this. It just looks so pretty. Like, I love it. It's so beautiful. Again, it's not the perfect foundation. There are some things that I dislike about it, but it's a good foundation. I also want to mention, I do think this is going to be a perfect summer foundation. And the reason why I say that is because the other day, I was four-wheeling with my grandpa, and I was down visiting for Easter weekend, and we went four-wheeling, and it started raining, and my face was not drenched, but I got rained on. Bottom line, it's not like it is in the East where you just get dumped on. Like, we were getting rained on, but it wasn't like, you know, I had a little bit of mascara kind of running down my face and stuff, but it wasn't like I was soaked. And my foundation and my concealer were both claiming to be pretty much waterproof, and they both held up like a dream. I mean, a dream. So this claims to be waterproof and last up to 24 hours, and it's supposed to it's built to resist intense days, physical activities, and varying weather conditions. And that's 100% accurate, because I mean, my foundation held up. I mean, you could not really tell, because once it stopped raining, I just kind of took my hands and went like this and kind of like dotted it back in place. You would never have known that I got rained on, except for I had mascara on my eyeballs. That was it. Like, it looked amazing. So I do feel like this is going to be really good in the humidity. I feel like it's going to be really good for those of you out there in the weather conditions, and whatever it is, I really am impressed with this. So that's it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you guys enjoyed this foundation review. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to come right back here tomorrow. I am going to be giving you guys my full opinion on the new Marc Jacobs Accomplice powder, comparing it to my Marc Jacobs. Holy shit. I'm going to be comparing it to my Charlotte Tilbury powder. So come right back here tomorrow and check that out. I love you all so much, and I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend filled with love and joy and happiness. I will see you guys tomorrow, and I love you all so much.